I am Michael Killen, a developer from Arizona, and another company from Minnesota plan to develop a piece of land on the San Francisco Bay, and there are many environmental and other organizations in the San Francisco Bay that consider this an assault. Now, on this show, I have invited representatives from 4 organizations to share their insights about the project and its impact and the opportunities it creates for the San Francisco Bay. I'm going to start by asking Gail Raabe, and she is on the steering committee of Redwood City Neighbors United. To put into perspective for us, what is this project all about that DMB from Arizona and Cargill from Minnesota are trying to do on the Redwood City shoreline?
Well, Michael, it's a pleasure to be here this evening first. They essentially want to put a new city on Cargill's salt ponds. The plan that they submitted to the city in 2009 calls for up to 12,000 housing units, over 1 million square feet of office space, retail. The development would have its own parks, and it would basically develop about 1,000 acres of salt ponds. And they plan to do some amount of restoration. The exact amount of acreage is unclear at this point. But essentially it would be a new city behind a 13-foot flood control levee at the edge of the bay.
Okay, so what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? It's for Redwood City, it's irresponsible growth. It's growth in the wrong place. Redwood City has a new general plan that calls for over 9,000 housing units in the heart of our city, in our downtown near public transit corridors. So we have an opportunity to provide the housing that we need without the negative impacts from building on the salt ponds. It's isolated, and there's impacts to Redwood City residents. There's impacts to the bay.
But when you say impacts to the residents, I mean, could you be specific?
I can. Because it's isolated on the other side of Highway 101, the impacts to 101 would be potentially horrendous. The section of 101 near the project site is already at capacity, and that's according to Redwood City. That's not my opinion. In order to get to the site from the rest of Redwood City, you would have to go on either Woodside Road or Marsh Road or Whipple Avenue, and those corridors are also at or near capacity. So we don't understand how Redwood City or actually the peninsula could accommodate what the initial study is saying could be up to 70,000 new vehicle trips daily. That's one issue.
So I sometimes travel through Redwood City on the feeder roads. I go to the big movie complex, and I find not just during peak hours, but other times, traffic is a problem. It's an irritant, and it's not like it was 5 years ago. And you're saying that area now, Redwood City, is going to just be flooded with more cars?
Yes, it could very well be if this project goes through. The other impact that we see potentially for Redwood City residents is in the area of water.
Before you go into water, can I just say, I'm glad it's your city that's going to have this traffic problem as opposed to my city.
But everyone uses 101. We're all in this together regionally, and I think that
So
You should have concerns as well.
So if I'm in Menlo Park, Palo Alto, San Mateo, etc., we have to all go through 101 to go anywhere for the most part.
Even the commuters coming from San Francisco to Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Right.
But then you start to talk about water. Water, I mean, we all have water, so what's the issue?
Well, the issue is that Redwood City doesn't have a lot of water. We are going to have some water supply challenges down the road without even factoring in the Saltworks project. The developer, DMB, doesn't have a realistic water plan. They submitted the application in 2009, and they still can't tell us definitively where the water is going to come from for possibly up to 30,000 people.
Well, we all get water from Hetch Hetchy, and I believe it's one of the greatest water one could drink. You know, I've drank water in England, in China, in Germany. Stuff is horrid.
It's the best.
And the same with Los Angeles and San Diego. This is the best. So we just take some more Hetch Hetchy water and give it to Cargill and DMB.
You know, the Hetch Hetchy supply is pretty much spoken for. DMB's initial plan was actually to bring Kern County agricultural water. They purchased water rights to Kern County Water, and their plan is to do a transfer and to bring basically that water here.
From Kern County?
Yes.
And that would
it's Delta water. So they would tap into Delta water and then bring that to an agency that has Hetch Hetchy, and then they'd swap it out. That was the plan.
But then other people would be getting this Delta water instead of Redwood.
Yes.
But Redwood City would also be getting Delta water.
No, Redwood City would still get the good stuff, the Hetch Hetchy.
Oh, you think there's somebody
Some other
that'll
residents in maybe Alameda or Santa Clara County with this scheme would be getting more Delta water. Yes.
All right. Okay.
So.
But there is no solution then. But some solution has to be found
for the water. It has to. And they've talked about groundwater, and that has been basically ruled out. And the latest thing that we heard is that they're looking at desalinization, doing a desalinization plant in Redwood Shores. But that's right across the slough from the wildlife refuge, and desalinization has all kinds of environmental impacts. So the challenges there are daunting.
Okay. And if they do build a desalinization plant or somehow do a water swap, what impact is it going to have on the Redwood City folks in terms of money?
I would assume that the city would require them to build the desalinization plant, but that water is going to be very, very expensive. So I'm not sure, long range, what the impacts would be. If there would be impacts to Redwood City's, other residents' water supply, increased water rates. It's all an unknown right now, Michael. It really is. We don't have a lot of information. And again, the application was submitted in 2009. This is 3 years.
Now, I'll probably come back to you in this interview, but I'd just like to ask one more question. The name of your organization is Redwood City Neighbors United.
That's right.
And it's united to stop this Arizona firm and this Minnesota firm from developing. Why the word neighbors?
Neighbors, because we want to reflect to Redwood City residents that this is about Redwood City. There are a number of issues with this project, and your other guests will speak to some of those other issues. The focus for our organization is to provide a voice to the community members that are opposed to the project.
So what do you expect from your neighbors? It's the voters of Redwood City that matter most, right? That and Cargill and DMB, they matter in this decision too, because if the resistance is so great to them, they'll just back out. But for the voters, what do you expect from the neighbors to do?
What we would like people to do is to get informed, and of course that's our job, is to get the information out to people, let them know what the issues are, what the concerns are, what the potential impacts are to their own quality of life. We hope to grow our supporters to the extent that we can sway the city council into making the right decision for Redwood City. You know, make the decision that we implement our general plan and we do responsible growth, not an irresponsible development on the salt ponds.
Okay, and your organization or predecessor was involved in at least 2 other battles with
Yes.
developers, and you guys won?
Yes, this was a group called Friends of Redwood City, and they did 2 citizen referendums on large bayfront developments that the city council had already approved, and we prevailed both times.
And are some of the folks that were on the team the last 2 times, are they with you now?
Yes, we're very fortunate that we've got members in Redwood City Neighbors United that have been through that experience, and we have some expertise.
And did you have neighbors that really helped you, allies? Or was it mostly you folks?
No, it was a massive undertaking involving a lot of people both times.
Okay, I'd like to go to Alice Kaufman. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
And Alice, you're with the Committee of Green Foothills.
Foothills, Committee for Green Foothills, correct.
Foothills, green. What in the world does that have to do with protecting a body of land on the shoreline of Redwood City and the San Francisco Bay?
Well, Michael, Committee for Green Foothills is more than just foothills. Our mission is to protect open space and natural resources all through San Mateo and Santa Clara counties, and that includes the wetlands and the other lands that front the bay.
Okay, so was your organization involved in the previous 2 fights with developers who wanted to develop on the San Francisco Bay in the Mid-Peninsula area?
In the Redwood City developments that you're asking Gail about? Yeah. No, we were not. This development is so huge and will have such great impacts that we're considering it vital to get involved in this fight.
So, and I know you're a well-connected woman with other organizations. Have you seen other organizations in the San Francisco Bay Area that are siding with Cargill and DMB or are teaming up with Redwood City Neighbors United to stop this development?
There are a number of organizations and also a number of current and former elected officials who have voiced their objection to this project. Not only, Committee for Green Foothills, obviously, Sierra Club, and the city councils of several neighboring cities to Redwood City, and the opposition is growing and growing. The more people hear about this project, the more you hear that people don't like it.
All right. What is your organization going to do to help, let's say, inform, educate the Redwood City voters?
Right. Well, we're going to do the public outreach and education that we do whenever there's a development of this sort. We do media outreach. We have a website. We send out email action alerts to our members, and we do advocacy. We appear at city council meetings and speak, and we use all of the avenues that we have available to us to make people aware of the impacts of the project and to give, as Gail said, to give the public a voice, because it is the public that matters. They're the ones who are going to be impacted.
Okay. Now, you're an environmental lawyer.
Yes.
Are you looking at the laws? Are you looking at possible violations? Or I have heard that the city government of Redwood City has to meet California CEQA laws, and that consultants have been hired to help prepare the data to meet the state requirements. Now, am I correct that normally good governance is that, in this particular case, a city manages the consultants who are putting the data together on these reports and controls the whole process. But am I correct that that's not the case in Redwood City and this project, and that the city has allowed the developer, DMB, to hire the consultants and manage the creation of the reports? Is that right?
That is what we understand, is that the consultants in this case are reporting to DMB and to the Saltworks, which is the project name, that it's not going through the city. And we're very concerned, as I know Redwood City Neighbors United also is, about the potential for undue influence, or at least for the appearance of undue influence in a process like this.
So, as a lawyer, is DMB and Redwood City exposing themselves to any lawsuits in not being more correct or more fair, whatever, in managing this research?
It's not a question of legality. It's a question of, as I think you said, good governance. It's a question of what is the best process, the most fair and open and transparent process. And we believe that the people of Redwood City and of the Bay Area, because this project will affect the entire peninsula, the people deserve to have a fair and open process. I mean, one of the points of CEQA is to inform the public about the potential impacts of the project, and you can't do that in an adequate way if you're not ensured of a transparent process.
Okay, from what I hear, Redwood City government is really committed to going ahead and allowing DMB, or encouraging DMB, supporting their efforts to develop this piece of land, right? That's...
Well, I wouldn't say that they're committed to letting this occur. They're certainly committed to following through on the CEQA process. I mean, we obviously feel that the CEQA process in this case is not even, it's not something even that should have been considered, simply because this project should have been rejected at the outset. Just as you would reject a proposal to build a development in the middle of Yosemite Valley. It's simply the wrong place. It's a completely inappropriate place to build a development like this.
Okay, so the city council is going to take a position on this project at some point. Would you agree?
They're going to have to eventually either approve or deny the project application.
And the voters, the citizens of Redwood City, are then going to hear advice, advocacy that's really been put together by the developer, by big business. No?
The EIR process is what we're talking about, is what is potentially being overly influenced by the developer. When you're saying the voters, are you asking if there's going to be a referendum on the issue?
No.
Because that is something that potentially could happen, although
That
that's
could happen.
that's
Okay.
unsure at this
No,
point.
I'm just getting to the point that when there is a vested party that has great interest in something, and that they're doing the research, and then the public is not getting a real good objective evaluation of the pros and cons of a particular project. Okay, so, but what I've learned from you, among other things, is that your organization is really going to fight to see that this project doesn't go forward. That's correct. And you are a representative from the Sierra Club.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, thank you for having me, Michael.
Marianna Raymond. And at the Sierra Club, first of all, what is the main area that you focus on?
Well, we are focused on protecting our wild spaces. In this case, this is zoned open space. It was wetland. Our wetlands have been drained, filled, diked, paved over to the tune of 90% gone. And here is a chance to preserve the open space designation persuade the court of public opinion and the officials and the city council to sell it where it could be returned to the Don Edwards Wildlife Refuge.
Well, I just want to, I heard something like 90% of the wetlands on the San Francisco Bay are gone. Okay.
Right.
So what? And so what if
Well-
there's a little bit more that is now going to disappear? I mean, it's nice we have wetlands, but so what?
Well, it's interesting. In 1999, there was a scientific study of our bay, which is, it's an ecosystem. It's not just this parcel. The wetlands are part of the estuary system, and they're very critical to the health of it. The scientists said that we needed at least 100,000, bare minimum, of healthy wetland for a healthy San Francisco Bay estuary. They're working towards that goal, and then along comes this project, which is just antithetical to this movement towards restoration. There is a big South Bay restoration project, and this parcel is right in there. It's already been approved for inclusion. Wetlands provide flood control. They provide critical animal habitat. There have been several endangered species documented in the adjoining lands, such as Greco Island. There's the clapper rail. There's the harvest mouse. Wetlands sometimes are called the lungs of the bay. They filter pollutants and keep them out of the bay. They help with mitigate flooding and erosion. And they are a very important nesting place and resting place for thousands of birds that use the Pacific Flyway.
All right, now, you brought up something that really interests me a lot, the scientists. And I tend to have a lot of faith and belief in science. They have done a study, and they've indicated that a certain amount of wetlands is needed for the health of this bay. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the health of this bay is not just fundamental in, flowers, trees, keep protecting the bugs and all of that stuff. It also has great economic. I mean,
Yes.
tourists come from around the world because this is such a beautiful place. And this project will be destroying another big chunk of
Right.
what's left of the wetlands. Is that correct?
Yes, it could be restored. It could be a place for
Okay.
hiking, kayaking, nature study. And once it's, I really want to make the point, once it is paved over, it is gone.
Okay. Now,
Good.
before coming on this show, I looked at the Cargill website, and this is a smart company, and it's a company that's really committed to the environment. But in going ahead and encouraging DMB to develop, that is just against everything they claim to believe in. And do you think when the public and their stockholders, because the stockholders are very virtuous people sometimes and very good folks, when they hear that Cargill is participating in going against scientists and the environment here, what do you think is going to happen? All right.
Well, I hope, I hope that education,
All right.
we will work on education.
All right. You've been wonderful.
Yes.
Janet Larson,
Yes.
you here represent the Woodside Atherton Garden Club.
Yes.
And first of all, what is the biggest accomplishment of the Garden Club of America?
Well, the Garden Club of America was very responsible in getting senators and congressmen to vote for the Clean Water Act. So,
Okay, clean water is extremely important. Where does your organization stand now with respect to this project?
well, we started by voting as our smaller group and going to all the city councils around Redwood City, trying to influence them. And there are 7 communities around Redwood City that have all voiced their opinion that they do not want this. It's going to affect all of us. It is all of our bay. We are not going to vote, but we are supporting Redwood City in this effort.
Okay, so let me just summarize for a second. The Woodside Atherton Garden Club is against this project.
Yes.
And that's a powerful club.
Yes.
And Redwood City Neighbors United is attempting to mobilize thousands of folks and other partners all around to stop it. And the Sierra Club is against it. And the Committee for Green Foothills is against it. And tonight, although they'd be here, but they've already spoken out, the Save the Bay is against it, the Sequoia Audubon, and all the council members. I have a feeling DMB and Cargill do not realize what this part of the United States is like with respect to appreciating the environment and the great San Francisco Bay. And I think the risk, financial risk to DMB is going to be too great for them to go forward, because there must be 30 more organizations like yours that didn't fight the last two battles, but you're going to join sides with you. And DMB is going to have to walk away, in my opinion, providing you guys do your job. Now, if there's time to show a photo, let's see. Menlo Park is next door to Redwood City. Cafe Verona is a hot spot in this area. They are hosting an art exhibition in April for 6 weeks to bring attention to the threat that Cargill and DMB, and here's one of the artists, Harry Cohen, who's come out of Marin County to make a series of paintings inspired by the need to help make the public aware so they vote effectively against this project. Get one more photo? And here is a painting inspired by building on the bay. And now I want to say I'm really happy with the guests. And I am Michael Killen, and I hope this has been an informative program for you. Thank you.